Like magic. Hello. We cannot see any of your faces yet, but there's no pressure to turn on your video quite yet. Super excited to welcome you all to this opportunity to hear from some current students about their experiences, maybe some advice for how to prepare as you're getting ready to prepare. My name is Leah Zimmer. I'm the Director of International Student and Scholar Affairs, and we're really excited to be welcoming you very soon. I have 3 of our international ambassadors, which means they are really student leaders in the work of welcome. Their primary role is to welcome you and help you feel a sense of community and a sense of connection to the Notre Dame campus. And so we've got lots of questions to ask them. But if you have any additional questions that you definitely want them to answer, we can go ahead and put that in the chat. And at the end, we will address any of the questions folks have, and we'll also give you an opportunity just to ask it in person. So I'm going to go ahead and I'll start with Jerome. Jerome, if you want to go ahead and give your Notre Dame welcome, and you guys will get very used to giving this. It's going to be your name, your major, your year, the hall that you live in, and where you're from. And it will become rote. So Jerome, if you want to go ahead and begin.
Sure thing. Hi, my name's Jerome Gan. I'm from Malaysia and Singapore. I'm a sophomore. I live in Balmerhaw doing the academic year, and I major in chemistry and philosophy. Oh, are we doing a fun fact?
Sure.
My fun fact is that I've lost my taste of smell, like my sense of smell and taste.
Guy, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, hi everyone. My name is Vongan Mutatu. I'm a sophomore studying mechanical engineering. I'm from Zimbabwe, but I live in the United States in Michigan, and I live in McGlynn Hall. And my fun fact is that I'm double jointed.
Interesting. Andrea.
All right, hi guys. My name is Andrea Sanchez, and I am from Managua, Nicaragua. I live in Lions Hall, and I'm majoring in political science and business econ. I'm also a sophomore, and my fun fact is that here in Nicaragua, I live in front of a volcano. So
lovely. Those are great fun facts. So we will probably ask those of you on the call to introduce yourselves a little bit later, so you can think through your introduction while we're talking. I'm going to ask our panel, thinking back to your first few weeks on campus, what was surprising to you about the Notre Dame campus, your hall, the U.S.? What was something you did not expect? Whoever would like to begin can begin.
I think the most, yeah, I would say it would be the same-sex dorms. So because here at ND, it was surprising that, being with like this big community, both guys and girls, that you would, live. So for us, right, for me, it'd be with all the guys. And I didn't understand, I thought, okay, you just live with a bunch of other guys, it's not a big deal. But what that meant was that there was a lot of brotherhood going on in the dorms. And I mean, I would remember my first week at Notre Dame being filled with a whole bunch of brother anecdotes. They'll be like, oh, your brother's always here for you. You never want to let your brothers down. And like people come and go, but your brothers are here to stay. And so that was a very surprising thing for me coming to Notre Dame.
Oh, that's funny.
I guess go ahead.
Oh, please go ahead.
I guess something really surprising that I didn't expect was that like the little things that I'm interested in are just like weird things that aren't like very popular. Like you find someone that's like interested in it, and it's like it's just different little things that you just like, wow, I'm surprised that someone likes that or something like that. And just like it really helped me to like open up and like realize that like there's little things about me that someone might be like have in common. So just like realizing that was really surprising.
Andrea.
Personally, I did not expect campus to be that big. I got there, and I remember walking around during international student or I was like, I'm not gonna to walk from Lions to here every day, right? Like to go to class. I was I was dreading it. So yeah, guys, or a bike.
It is. We see a lot more scooters on campus, a lot of bicycles, even the winter, because it is such a large campus. And I don't know that as many of our first year students have had the opportunity to visit campus. And so I would be curious for our students who are on the call, if you want to put in the chat whether you've actually been to campus yet and what hall that you're expecting to be in. That'll give us some information about who's on the call. So in the chat, have you been to campus yet? And which hall are you going to be living in? Because it could match one of our panelists here. I'm curious, what is something that you found out after you had been at the university for 4 or 5 or 6 months that would have been very helpful to know about in your first week of classes? What's something you learned and you're like, I just wish I had known this the first week I moved here, first week on campus? Jerome, we'll start with you. We can go in the same order for the questions.
Yeah, sure thing. I would say participation was a big thing on campus, and I didn't realize that. So I was in one of the university seminar classes, and in that, they would really, I mean, there was, I mean, one of our classmates would just say whatever is on his mind, and the professor was more than happy. I mean, maybe it was just that class, but she was like, yeah, please share your thoughts, and he never stopped after he started. But I think that's a big thing here because your professor wants you to know that you're engaged, right? That you're reading the material and then you're actively engaged in the classroom. And I think that's very different, coming from a different academic background where like we would have one exam at the end of the year, right? As opposed to many, or you only ask questions if you really did have like a pressing question and that was it. So
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I think one of the biggest things I wish I would have like known during my first week was that like school is important and it's important to focus like on school, but it's also like important to just like enjoy like everything that's on campus and take time to like hang out with your friends, like go to football games. That like yes, you need to study and work hard, obviously, but like it's also just as important to like let loose a little bit and enjoy like everything that Notre Dame has to offer. And so like I wish I'd known that in the beginning because I was a lot more stressed than I probably should have been instead of enjoying the things. So yeah.
Oh my.
I actually cannot stress that enough. Like it's so necessary to give yourself some time to like relax and like actually enjoy being in college. But also going back to like the point of like being from a different academic background, I was not familiarized at all with the concept of office hours, and I thought of them like they were optional, but they were also like, oh yeah, like I'm not gonna go unless I actually need help or anything. But sometimes just like stopping by to talk to your professor about literally anything can help you so much in class and can open so many opportunities, so many doors. So yeah, maybe just knowing a little bit more about the concept of office hours.
Yeah, can you guys talk a little bit more about office hours? Like when you go to a professor for office hours, like what do you talk about? And do you just show up? Is there an appointment? What does that look like? What is that culture of office hours? Or what's the first question that you remember asking a professor that you showed up for office hours for? This is a pretty new concept, right, for university, but also just for this kind of engagement with your professors.
They're very different now because of the pandemic. So like they're on Zoom. So it's literally, they would take more effort before because you actually had to go. But now you can literally just be sitting. You can just be in your room. You can be chilling in your bed. and you can still talk to your professor about anything. I don't really remember. I can't recall the exact first question that I asked my professor, but I know that for the most part they're pretty chill. You don't need to have a question to go. You can just pop in to the Zoom call, and then they're having a conversation. You can just ask literally anything, or just make a comment, or talk about whatever you talked about in class. Say, hey, I thought that was interesting. Maybe they can oh, that's good. And maybe they can offer you an opportunity to work in a lab, or like to do an internship somewhere.
Yeah, going off of that, like one of the first times like I started going to office hours, like for my math class, like I had questions, but then like after I was done with my questions, like I actually just started to get to know the professor, and like he would ask me like where I'm from, all these different things, and I was like making connections, and like it would just be like random things that I'll be talking about, and like discernment about my career path and stuff like that, of like what I want to do and what my professor was doing. And so like it's also a time to just connect with professors, because like if you want to do research and stuff, you also like need recommendations from professors, and it's better if they know you more personally than like just like your grade on the class, or just like something like that. So that's also important.
Off of that, you'll be surprised how friendly you might be getting with your professor. I remember like the first time I went there was like a serious, question about the class, and I was like, oh no, I'm not getting this concept. And then the second time, we were talking about poker, and which professor in the department probably had the best poker face, right? And that comes so naturally sometimes with some of the professors, and they really just want to get to know you and what you like and what you are like, out of the classroom, out of just, say the chemistry setting, out of just general chemistry setting. They want to know more about you. So I would highly advise going.
Cool. Was there anything else about the classroom, engagement with the professor, the syllabus, the first week of classes that was really surprising to you? A couple of you talked about a different academic culture, but were there other things that you were surprised by and you were like, oh, this is, I'll just have to learn this. I'll just pay attention, or I'll do this differently in those first couple of weeks, or within the classroom throughout the semester?
Yeah, there's a big difference in the type of syllabus. So like as I said before, we would have one exam at the end of the year. But here, I mean, because all the classes are semester based, so read the syllabus that the professor gives you, and keep in mind that, you'll have, say, 3 or 4 midterms, right? They're called midterms, but they're never in the middle of the term. And you get about 3 to 4 of them per class, and then you have the final as well. And so really understanding what the grading system is like would probably, give you peace of mind. Like homeworks, could be worth up to 20, 30%. And these are things that you can do at your leisure, as opposed to a midterm, right? Which is worth maybe, 15, 20%. And, you have to sit down there and it's 2 hours. And if you don't answer it in time, the world's over or something, right? So yeah, really look at the syllabus and get used to the idea that you'll be graded holistically, or more holistically, to a great extent.
Yeah, I second that with the homework. Like homework ends up like in most of my classes, at least, like they end up being a big portion of like your grade, and like sometimes even more than the exams. So it's like staying on your homework is very important. And also like collaborative work, like working with other people, because sometimes it gets really tough, and especially in engineering, they want you to collaborate with other people, not like copying answers and stuff, but like working together, because like sometimes it gets hard, and then you're like, oh, I'm the only one that's like thinks it's hard. But if like you work with other people, you realize that like, okay, other people are struggling with this, and we can work together, like understand the information.
Yeah.
Exactly. Collaboration sessions. You guys, they're amazing. You get to work with your classmates, and you do your homework, and you don't even feel like you're doing homework. It's just like you're just going through the problems and you're making friends. So like we didn't have that. I don't know if it's even a thing outside of college, but really, really participate. They're good.
Very cool. I'm curious if you guys can talk, and Vongai, I know you live in the Midwest, but anything about interactions between people in the US, in the Midwest, on campus that you found surprising or interesting when you first started being a student? Or none at all? Nothing was surprising. Go ahead, Vongai.
I was just gonna say, like, since I'm from like live in the Midwest, it's hard for me to be surprising. But I guess like some of my friends say that like Midwesterners like tend to like say hi sometimes. Like you'll be just walking and random people will say hi, or like people that you don't know, like, or will like comment on something about you. Like that's good, but like it's just so random. So like just expect that of like they're trying to be nice, but they might not know you or anything, but they might just comment, "Hey, I like your sweatshirt," something like that, or something, and it might be random, but yeah.
Yeah, going off of that, I totally agree. Like a lot of them just want to be, everyone really just wants to be nice and, wants to get to know you. Oddly enough, I was like standing at a bus stop one time, and this woman started talking to me. At the end of it, I knew her whole life story. I knew that her extended family, about her extended family, her son-in-law was getting remarried and they were having tacos for dinner. You get the idea. But that's just what people are like, and they mean no harm. They just want to, converse.
Mm-hmm. Very fun. What do you remember about your expectations for coming to Notre Dame? When you think about, you were in the situation where the students on this call are, and you were getting ready to come to campus. Do you remember anything about your expectations for your time on campus? And then how were those expectations met or not met when you got here? Jerome, we'll start with you.
I mean, I chose to come to Notre Dame because, I'm sure all of you have read about it or at least heard about it, the Notre Dame family, right? Being part of the Notre Dame community, and then making friends for life. I think my old rector put it very well. He was like, I want to see all of you at your weddings, and at my wedding if I ever get married, and I think that speaks a lot, right? That speaks to the character of people, at least, in my hall, but also Notre Dame, the greater Notre Dame community. I really wanted to make friends who I thought, that would matter to me and that I mattered to them. And I think that is very true. Coming here, people have been very genuine, and getting to know people, meeting people isn't too tough at Notre Dame. You'll be surprised for such a large undergrad population. You tend to meet a lot of people outside of your hall for all sorts of reasons, for extracurricular activities. You could go to office hours. I met two of my really good friends at Calculus 1 office hours. So yeah, just getting to know people, and making good friends, I would say, was what I wanted, and was what I did get.
Cool. Vongai, how about you?
Yeah, kind of going off of that, like coming to Notre Dame, I was like that, like I had this idea of like it's a big campus, but it has a small campus feel. So it's like, and that's what I was expecting. And I feel like sometimes people would say that about some place, but it's not really true. But I really feel like that was met. Like even though it's a big campus, like Jerome was saying, and like there's a lot of like national prestige about the university, like it's still like it feels like a small campus because like the classes aren't that big. Like you'll probably get some big classes, but like a lot of people in the like in your classes, and like you'll see people that in your class in the dining hall. It's like it's not common to just see people randomly in the library, and so like you feel like you're not just like a dot somewhere in like a sea of like a lot of dots, but like you feel like important. Like, oh, okay, I seen that person and stuff like that. So I really like that small campus feel. It like makes you feel more at home, even though there's still like a lot of like academic prestige in football games and national attention. Like you still feel like, wow, I'm at home and I can feel comfortable here.
I totally agree with that actually. Like I did not expect to feel at Notre Dame like at home. I expected to feel like I was there and it was an institution and I was a student and that's it. Like a very formal relationship with the university. And as it turns out, it's
Mm.
turned out to be like a home. And I feel weird at home knowing that I miss being there, and then I'm there and I miss being at home, and it just is
Mhm.
very. You guys prepare for that weird situation, in which like you go back home, you don't feel comfortable there, and if you get Notre Dame, you won't feel comfortable there either. But I did not expect that. I had an expectation. I expected it to be like an institution, and that's it. And it's more than that. God, it's a home, and you get a new family
Mhm.
there, and that's just something that happens.
Mhm. And I think I've heard, I can't speak to this, but I've heard that sometimes that takes longer for some students than others. And sometimes it takes a little bit longer to find your people and your community. And that's totally normal. It really just varies. And you might find a group your first couple of weeks that changes, 3 months in. And you guys are nodding. So I think this may ring true in your experience too. There's not a right way to do this. And you have your family the first day and you have all of your people the first day. It's going to be a journey as you're meeting people. And it might be a little bit harder when you get on campus in a couple of weeks because everyone's masked and it's cold and people just want to stay under the covers in their residence hall and be warm. And so I'm curious if the three of you have any advice for students because you've already lived through a semester of masks and the university tried to keep the sense of community building. But do you have any advice for students as they're coming in new within our current sort of distancing restrictions and limitations so that they can build community and still connect with other students? What advice would you have? Yeah, Andrea, please.
Don't be afraid to talk to anyone and like just approach anyone and start talking. You guys, we are all in the same situation. You feel lonely. Everybody else feels lonely. Everybody's friendly. You might just make your next best friend by approaching someone in like the library or the dining hall or the dining tent. I'm not sure what we're gonna have this semester.
Yeah.
But approaching someone and talking to them, you guys don't be afraid to make new friends. Like put yourself out there. And it's hard. It's harder in practice, but remember that after all, it's a community and what's the worst thing that can happen, honestly? So like put yourself out there.
I like that you said practice, Andrea, because it is practice. You just have to keep doing it. And it's going to be super awkward sometimes and amazing sometimes, but you just keep practicing until it gets comfortable. That's really great. Jerome or Vongai, any recommendations for, that's an excellent set of recommendations from Andrea. So
just testimony for Andrea. She sent me an email asking me for my Snapchat. So that's true. She really did. Yeah. Well, I replied pretty quickly. And now we're good friends in Snapchat. Yeah, I would say, do that, right? In classes now, they're all seats are further apart and everything. And you might not want to talk to someone who's like 3 COVID seats away, right? That's like 60 normal seats away. But go for it, try. And I would highly recommend. I ended up, so there was someone who sat like about like 3 COVID seats diagonally away from me in classroom, and I was like, oh, this person made a lot of good points during the semester, and I said, oh, I really want to get to know this person because her viewpoints were interesting. And what happened was I was like, oh, maybe not. It's a bit far. That might be a bit awkward. And then at the end of the semester, which was, this last semester, we actually all got together for like a final study group. And we were all looking at each other saying, it would have been great if we did this earlier in the semester. It would have helped us study better. It would have helped us just prepare ourselves better. And doing it together was so much better than, doing the readings alone, going to class thinking you're the only one there and that you're the only one who didn't fully understand what the readings were about. So, if you see that, if you meet someone that you want to get to know better, do it. Don't wait on it. Don't wait till finals week to do it because then you only have 3 days of internal panic with each other as opposed to an entire semester of that. So
Also, like I found it helpful. Like a lot of the clubs do like online or meet virtually on Zoom, and so like I think it's also helpful to like join different clubs and like find people that have the same interest in you to find community. And you never know who you might find during those like club meetings, and you might message them and say, oh, do you want to hang out or something like that. And so like I went to a club meeting last semester. It was on Zoom still, but like I ended up finding a study partner, and like we're now friends and stuff like that. So like join clubs, and even though they're online, you can still find community in them. So yeah.
That's a great transition to asking you guys, what clubs and activities are you involved in? What's something that you tried out that you would not have expected to enjoy, but you did? But what are the activities and clubs that you guys have really enjoyed in your time at Notre Dame? There are more than 500 student clubs on campus. There's just an extraordinary number of clubs and activities and teams for those of you coming in. But what have you guys chosen to participate in? No club activity? No clubs that you're members of?
none of us joined any clubs. We quit all our clubs before that. I really enjoyed, so on campus there are like different types of clubs. So you'd have those that are like purely academic. So if you join like chemistry and biochemistry club, they would try to present and talk about certain projects, or everyone, maybe upperclassmen would take turns to present some sort of idea, or maybe what they're researching on, or try to introduce a professor to get people excited and possibly try out for undergraduate research. And then there are other like recreational clubs. Like it's weird. There are clubs that cater to people who like juggling. There's juggling club. There are all sorts of weird recreational clubs, and then there are also cultural clubs. So if you, I don't know, I'm from Malaysia, so I joined the Asian club, right? So it's called the Asian American Association, and under there are like umbrella clubs like Japan Club or Korea Club or something. And I really enjoyed those because, being so far away from home, it was nice to have a community to hang out with. And sure, they have questionable orders, Asian food orders, but it's fine. We get along in other ways. And so I would say that was one of the more enjoyable clubs because you really just got together, you hang out, and you get to know more people. So definitely something to do. Oh, and on that note, you also get to meet upperclassmen, which is really very helpful because then maybe, if you need help or you're struggling, or you just like to get to know more people, or someone in that same club of yours is looking into banking, for instance, and you want to look into banking, that's a great way to, expand your network and just get to know somebody, at a very informal level. I would highly recommend doing that.
Okay, and Andrea, are you guys part of any clubs on campus?
Go ahead.
Okay. I guess I'm part of like some engineering clubs, like the National Society of Black Engineers, like American Mechanical Engineers, and also like the Society of Women Engineers. And then, but like one club that I'm interested, like I joined randomly, was like Dance Africa, which is like a dance group that I joined. And I'm not like a big dancer, but like someone told me to join it, and it's been really fun. And so like, don't be afraid to like join things that you might not necessarily have ever done before, but like I really enjoy it. Like I look forward to it, and it's like one of my escapes from studying, or I look forward to it and listening to music and stuff. So
very fun. Andrea.
Mine is not so much of a club. It's like more of an activity, but it's just weird how some clubs can like be something like a community more than a club or like a homework or something. The community in the econ department is literally one of the best, nicest communities of, and I didn't even expect going into econ. I didn't even want to be part of econ when I got into Notre Dame. But it's just one of these things that you don't expect it, and then you get dragged into it by friends, and then you like it. So like the econ club, and also cultural clubs, as in like as LSA, like Latino Student Alliance, or what's the name of this one? Diversity and inclusion clubs and dorms, stuff that you really feel for, and that you feel like you actually putting your passion into. They feel good.
Really cool. So we will pivot. Those were all excellent examples. Again, more than 500 clubs. We don't have to convince you. We're not convincing you of attending Notre Dame. It's more, how are you going to get connected with people in the first couple of weeks? And clubs are a really great way to do that. And because they're meeting virtually, like one guy said, it can be just a good way to really get to know people. And hopefully by next fall, you'll see them in person, unmasked, you'll know all of them, and you'll have that community built in throughout the spring and when you return next fall. So if we pivot a little bit just to thinking about what are some things that you guys brought with you or you always bring with you when you're coming from home that are essential to your happiness while you're on campus? And what are some things that you actually brought and you feel like, I just wasted the space in my luggage to bring this? I could have gotten that in South Bend. I could have gotten it at Notre Dame. I did not need to bring that, and I did. What are some recommendations you have for what to bring, what not to bring for our students who are packing probably this week to get here in a couple of weeks? Andrea.
I cannot stress this enough. Food, guys. God, there is never enough space in my bag for food. I swear I'm gonna leave shoes and leave clothes here to bring food with me, and it's gonna be gone by the first week because it's the US and you feel like you're gonna find everything you're looking for, but sometimes things are not nearly as good as the authentic. And just think about that. You can always find a new pair of shoes. Are you gonna find that right? So food, guys.
Fair.
Andrea, they're gone in the first week because you're sharing them with all the people you care about, right? That's yeah, I would have also said food too. That would be something that I'd bring from home. Not that you can, but don't bring hard items, like don't bring furniture stuff, right? I mean that, I would say you could get all that stuff here. Amazon Prime does a really good job. And so, when you do get here, I suppose, like, I was very worried that I couldn't get all my things on time. So I made like this really mad dash after orientation to get all my things at the nearby, Walmart, Target, or whatnot. And I was like, oh, I definitely need this, and that. But I would say just get the essentials that you need at the start, so things you can't go without, right? You probably want to brush your teeth. You might want to take a shower, and with that, towel, shampoo, soap, or whatnot. Or if you use one of those shampoo, soap, conditioners all in one where you just have to start at the top and it works. Whatever you use, I would say those are more essential. And then as the week progresses, you then, think like, oh, maybe I do need this, like command strips to hang my things up, or you need, another storage, like one of those wire storage systems to, store your books or your clothes. And that can always come later. But remember, since we're all international students, that's going to have to go somewhere, right? So during the summer, you're going to have to find a place to store all of that. So keep that in mind too, which is why I highly advise get on campus, just get the basic things. It's only a fashion show for the first 2 days. Everyone gives up after that, so don't worry about that. And yeah, just bring the basics. Give it a couple of weeks and then really decide, is this something I really, really need? Is this essential? Is this going to make my life like a million times better? Or is this just something that I want that's not really, that I'm going to toss aside after a week?
We talked this morning about how students are going to have to get used to just wearing Notre Dame clothes all the time, things with Notre Dame branding on it, and just get used to it. And so you don't need to bring lots of fancy clothes. You'll just build up your sweatshirts and hats and t-shirts and your Notre Dame identity through your clothes. Bongai, do you have any other recommendations for things that you would leave or make sure to bring with?
I guess I could say like try to bring something like sentimental from home to like remind you of home. Cause like even though like I live in the Midwest, I still like missed home and like having a picture of like my family on like my desk or something, or just something sentimental about like home, I think made me feel a little bit better. So maybe just bring something. It doesn't have to be big or anything, but something that would like remind you of home and when you get homesick. So yeah.
Oh, good. So there's kind of a final question before we break out into groups. What's a question you wish I had asked? What is something you want to make sure that our new students on the call definitely know before we finish as they're preparing to come to campus in a couple of weeks? Question you wish I'd asked, something you think they definitely need to know.
I'll start first. Or Andrea, do you want to go first?
No, please go.
I would say a big thing was how much do you have to wear when it's cold, right? And that varies for any, like, most people. But I personally, having like a big, big coat, and then just wearing maybe a jumper, a sweater underneath, and then like a t-shirt under that. So that would be like 3 layers, right? Including a coat, suffices for me. So I would say get gloves, if your ears are going to get cold, get a band or get, a beanie or something, or muffs. But other than that, you don't have to have like a million sweaters. You will be fine. And even if you do freeze ever so slightly, I guess if you were to walk very slowly, it'd take you 20 minutes max from class to class. So by the time you get into class, you're going to take off your coat and you're going to take off your gloves and everything. So I would say you don't need that much winter stuff, not as much as you think you would.
Actually, I was just going to say that. Like, particularly if you're from a hot place like I am, because I'm from Central America. So I was really not prepared for that. It's cold, but as long as you wear enough clothes and you feel comfortable walking from one place to the other, you guys, it's not a fashion show. You may look like a burrito, but if you're warm, you're good. And also like the food places on campus, the dining hall is not the only option, and we get lots of meal plans and flex points and stuff. So I would recommend Garbanzo or or Modern Market or stuff. Like you can eat outside of the dining hall. Just explore. That's just general advice.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah, just going off of what Andrea said, like with flex points, try to not to use all your flex points in the beginning, because like you probably want to use them during final exams. Like final exams, you don't want to go to the dining hall everywhere because you want to like eat on the go and study. So just make sure like to use it wisely, even though it might be really hard. But yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks, you guys. I am going to put you guys into small groups to introduce. So students who are here attending, I'm going to ask you to put your video on, unmute yourself. We'll put you in some small groups to ask any questions of the IAs that are here, and give your Notre Dame intro. Make sure you introduce yourself, and we'll give you about 8 or 9 minutes to just talk about what are you excited about, what are you looking forward to, what are you nervous about, and any questions that you want to make sure to ask them. So we'll do that for about 8 or 9 minutes, bring you back and answer any other questions that you might have. So turn on your video, turn on your microphone, and here you go.